Alright, what's up everybody? So it's been a while since I made a video and I am here and I'd like to just, show people some more of these plasma entities and go over some of the information that I found about these. I've been doing a lot of research and studying. I've gone through many different books. I've found so many podcasts about them. It's actually pretty crazy how many people have been talking about this, but at the same time it's still, kept under wraps. Like if you bring this up in any community, like the Reddit community or, a Facebook UFO page, they immediately start bashing you. Like it's almost like this stuff is blasphemous. Nobody can accepted. Everyone is so hell-bent on this nuts and bolts style of a craft that when it's suggested that maybe these things are biological, they immediately scoff at you. They're like, no, this can't be true. But that said, I'm here and I really hope everyone's doing amazing. Before I really get into this, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Just help the channel grow and also help this information get out, really. Share it with people and go to this guy's YouTube page, the Plasmoid Anomaly Study Group, and just start sharing these things. I've actually started a TikTok account where I'm screen recording and then posting the videos and then, writing a few things about it on there just to get the word out. I feel like the younger generation may have an easier time accepting this kind of knowledge. And yeah, so I guess the first way I'd like to get into this is just saying some of the implications of these plasma entities. So I've been listening to a lot of the Ashton Forbes work that he's been doing on the MH37 plane that basically got yeeted into the shadow realm. Well, technically it didn't get casted into the shadow realm, it was teleported to an island. And if you haven't checked him out, I highly suggest people go and look at the stuff that he's doing because he's pulling so many parallels. He's getting so much knowledge into the technology that has been suspected to be used in the UFOs that we see, right? So one of the most fundamental things that these things represent is the existence of the ether. So the ether is basically a dimension of the universe that is separate from ours. It's basically what dark matter is, right? This substance that is everywhere, and yet we don't interact with it. It's an energetic force that we are a part of, but at the same time we aren't a part of it. Like we are, a good analogy would be like we're in a fishbowl and we don't look outside of our fishbowl, right? But if we were to come out of the fishbowl and look, we would see that there's this whole other realm around us that we just aren't a part of, but it's influencing us. So that's one of the main things that these things represent. They represent a bona fide dimension that is parallel to ours, where these energies are from, basically 0 point energy, free energy, or as Trevor James Constable says, argon energy, which is used in warp drive, faster than light travel, faster than light communications, teleportation, and free energy. Like the ramifications of this literally are world changing, and I think that's one of the main reasons why the military industrial complex hasn't really told us about the UFOs of being these biological entities, because as soon as they do that, then the question becomes, where do they go when they're not here? And that opens the door to the ether actually being real, which honestly in most fields of academics the ether is thought to be something whimsical. It's not real. It's just it's not even a theory, really. Like if you were to bring it up in any academic circles, they will laugh at you, right? It's not accepted. But then again, dark matter is accepted, and they study that, billions of dollars to understand what it is. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm trying to push this information out to people so much, is because I feel like this is a very, very important part of the conversation that we need to have, right? The idea that all of these UFOs that we see are merely nuts and bolts just doesn't add up, right? Whenever you see a civilian photograph or video that they've taken of a UFO, the first thing you see is a light, and then you have these curved edges. Like, it doesn't really make any sense about how this thing could be, nuts and bolts craft. But then as soon as you bring in the idea of it being something biological, it makes a little bit more sense. It's like, okay, so it's like, an amoeba or like some sort of sea creature that exists inside of this, fluid, ether, dark matter realm, and that can phase into our reality, right? This stuff has honestly changed my entire view on what life actually is and what it means to be alive. So already, with the existence of the ether, consciousness, the idea of it being non-localized is, more easily accepted. Like, okay, remote viewing is true, seeing the future, in dreams, or telepathy. All of these things become more, validated with this extra dimension, right? And I mean, we know the CIA has done many, many studies, released papers on it actually, saying that they remote viewed in the past and found a 1,000,000-year-old civilization that existed on Mars, right? These are, declassified documents that they released. So it's not a crazy idea, but in our foundation of reality that we have now, those ideas, basically impinge on what is known to be possible, right? Because this is left in the shadows. So that's why I feel like it's really important to just get this out to the public and let everybody know that, hey, this is real. The ether is a real thing. Free energy is a real thing. Warp drive, faster than light travel, is a real thing. And now we can start opening up the conversation even more about, okay, are there other non-human intelligence that are coming to our planet and interacting with us? Well, the many people who have encountered these beings, it would seem yes. Now maybe are they able to travel through the ether via OBEs, out of body experiences, and they can materialize here in some way? I don't know. Are they bringing craft here? Well, we have many crash retrieval programs or crash retrieval incidents that go back to Roswell, maybe even before then, maybe even before that, the late 1800s, right? The flying ships, flying airships that they were reported seeing and people coming out of them. Now, interestingly enough, that could actually be human technology that was doing that, We like to think, that all of this stuff only just started being created in the 1940s, prior to the nuke being dropped and, all the Nazi scientists digging into this. But the reality is Tesla was on this. Tesla speculated that this was a thing, the ether. And, who knows how far back this technology goes. Like, the concept of alchemy comes into this, right? Then we start getting into even deeper and even older, as in the pyramids, the energetic pyramid structures that are basically siphoning energy off of the planet, via piezoelectric, static, and then sending it to other places that are utilizing energetic stones like granite, granite pillars. How can that happen? Well, the energy can travel through the ether, right? Like, and then you start getting even more into it, and you start to realize that all of these sacred sites are encompassed and encoded with sacred geometry, which is a form that you need to understand to access the ether, Like in the videos with MH37, the orbs that are surrounding this thing, they form a sine wave, a very, very simple, elegant geometric pattern that was used to warp the plane, because we think that everything is so complex and everything is like, transistors and quantum computers and stuff like that. But in reality, everything could be, simplicity is the strongest form in our universe, right? And if you're able to set something up energetically using this simple equation, let's call it, or geometry, then what you can grasp from that could be, infinite amounts of energy and possibilities. And I think that what really shows that that is the case is when we look into Malcolm Bindall's work on his plasmoid generator. You know, that thing uses the slope angle of the Great Pyramid. And why did they use that? So that there's no turbulence on the two nodes that it has. So the fluid comes in and then it spins around, and the angle that it reaches to the other node is the angle of the Great Pyramid, which makes it the most optimal for its usage of, you know, basically alchemy, turning carbon dioxide into the perfect ratio of oxygen, 20% oxygen for humans to breathe, you know, and making it a lot more efficient. So I just imagine, right? So imagine we have this, you know, plasmoid generator somewhere. Okay, well, let's say we're going to travel to another star, right? We could literally use this generator. I know I'm going on a tangent, guys. I'm so sorry. But once you turn this generator on, or you mod it with the plasmoid thunderbolt, whatever it's called, you can literally like suck the exhaust out of the thing, and it's pure oxygen, right? So you could put this thing inside of a spaceship and have oxygen being constantly generated on an efficiently running machine. The possibilities are endless, and I think the time is really now that we need to start making this change, or at least waking people up to this reality that we have the answers to truly change the world for the better. And why hasn't it happened? Well, you know, we're stuck in this political game, the charade that we have. We're constantly being divided and pitted against each other, and I honestly feel like something, you know, catastrophic is going to be happening soon, which is going to basically reset us. And you know, maybe we can get this information out and let people know that this is a reality, and then they can start looking deeper inside to, you know, the true essence of who they are and a part of humanity, so that we don't separate from each other. We are bonded even stronger, so that no matter what happens, we come together as a whole family, you know, the human family. And yeah, I think it really all starts with this, you know, understanding reality, looking at reality for what it is. These things exist. These plasma entities exist. They've been documented and studied by NASA, you know, and filmed and released to the public. We know that the plasma entities are in space. And, you know, we get pictures from the DOD and the Pentagon of, you know, black and white craft, and we're always like, well, that doesn't even make sense. Like when you look at the jellyfish UAP, you're like, well, what the heck is this? What's going on? But then when you see that they have that tether thing or whatever, you know, that rigid rope, you know, whenever I post these, people say, oh, you could see the balloon string, it's a balloon. And it's like, nah, dude, like that thing's not even moving. It's completely rigid. It's just a form of it. You know, these things being extraterrestrial, who's to say what they're supposed to look like? You know, just because it's a 5-pointed star doesn't mean that it's not something extraterrestrial. Doesn't mean that it's definitely a balloon. You know, if you go into the ocean, you'll see starfish that have the exact same shape. You know, it's possible. And I think what's important for people to realize is that we know that these are reality, right? And we know that nature takes the forms of many things, you know. And I don't know if you guys have any suggestions on how to, you know, propagate this information more so that people can grasp onto it harder. Please let me know, because I've been literally racking my brain on how to do this. Every single time I bring it up into any space, I'm immediately just attacked, and I'm like, dang, dude. And what's even wilder is I've been digging into a lot of this research, you know, Trevor James Constable and even Kenneth Arnold, you know, who stated that, you know, his second encounter with these things, he, you know, equated it to some form of an organism, right? And so here's another thing that this ties into. This ties into a theory of the shadow biosphere, which is something that Gary Nolan has brought up numerous times and many other scientists, which is the theory that there could be another biome that is, separated from ours, that has life that we've never encountered. And what we're seeing right here is that biosphere. And on one of the interviews, it was about a year ago, I think, that he was on Event Horizon. He brought up the fact that he was working with somebody who actually had photographic evidence of this biosphere, the shadow biome. And he said that the evidence that I saw was pretty compelling, right? And that he was actually buying equipment for this gentleman so that he could capture more of this evidence, right? And so now here's where it gets interesting. That same time, the guy who runs this YouTube page, the Plasmoid Anomaly Study Group, stopped posting. Like dude used to post like 2 times a day for over 10 years, constantly churning out content. He has over 2,000 videos on his channel. And then one day he just stops. So I'm thinking that maybe he got a contract with Gary Nolan and they are working together collecting data for this information. Or the other thing is that something horrible happened to him. And if that's the case, then I feel even more compelled to put out his work so that other people can know. Like I said, this is the information that will change the world right here. What you're looking at is a real anomaly, and they exist. All you have to do is go outside and look. We know that these beings are, telepathically connected to us in some way. When people encounter ET, they all speak of telepathy, which again speaks to the existence of this ether realm, right? This other space where consciousness and energy can move outside of space-time, which is just so fascinating. And it literally just racks my brain so hard. Like, it's beautiful, honestly. And then when you start tying in sacred geometry with it, it just becomes, well, obviously, right? Like the toroidal field being one of the most fundamental shapes is one of the shapes needed for free energy and warp drive. I don't know. It's been a while since I've stepped on here, and I just thought I wanted to share some of this stuff with you guys and just basically let you know where I'm coming from and some of the information that I gathered. I'm actually working on a real script written video for everybody about this, and I'll be going through some of the stuff that I've talked to in a little bit more detail. But just just a rounded kind of explanation of everything. This is, again, the start of a great future. The existence of these sets into stone the presence of the ether, which then sets into stone the access to free energy and basically Star Trek. We could have literally been living in a Star Trek world since, the 2000s. Again, if you guys haven't checked it out, go and check out Ashton Forbes. Like, had some dude who sent him a letter. And apparently he was somebody who was high up in, the programs or the intelligence committee. And he said that, they figured this stuff out with the development of quantum computing back in the 2000s, right? And what we get, the military is 20 years ahead, right? So they've already had everything. I was actually just watching Star Trek the other night. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but Geordie LaForge was going to a event that was talking about AI, right? And this is in the 1990s, 1991. So Geordie LaForge is riding in the spaceship in the shuttlecraft, and he's like, "Computer, how far away is Ryza?" And then it tells him, blah, 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 blah. Ryza is, 30 million light years away. Okay, or 30 million miles away. Okay. I'm bored. How about play some music, something Spanish? And then it plays some Spanish, and he's like, not like that. Play something, a light Spanish guitar, right? And then it's like, okay, you know. And then he starts talking to it, and he's like playing a game with it. That is what we have now. We just have that capability right now, where I can go on Sona and ask it to make me a song, and it'll be like, okay, you know, and it'll make me a bona fide track that I can just like jam to, right? Like, either the evolution of technology is just so apparent and like, you know, of course, that they just, you know, realize that that's where our future is going to be, which I think kind of, but then again, at the same time, I think they had some inside information. Because when we look at things like Stargate, right? The theory of a Stargate is like, you know, literally otherworldly. Like, what the heck, you know? You could just like walk through a gate and then you're on another planet. No, that's millions of years into the future, you know. Cut to 2014, and we have these videos of a literal Stargate just being generated, you know, where they go to some obscure island on the planet. But since we have this other dimension, you could go anywhere, you know. So the theory or the technology works as you have these three orbs that basically circle it and make this, I think it's like a time reverse wave or something like that around the plane. And then they, you know, some gravitational force zaps it. I'm butchering it, paraphrasing, right? And then you have a fourth orb, which basically tells, you know, which is connected to the three orbs quantumly. And then the fourth orb basically opens up the doorway to wherever else you're going, right? So let's think about Stargate. You know, when those things come down and they're like, and then they levitate up and they're around you, and then you like get teleported up into another area. Boom. That's basically that technology, but another iteration of it, you know? Like, dude, the entire world that we exist in now is a lie and is a charade. All of these wars, all of this hunger, you know, all of this division, this infighting is all created, fabricated so that we don't wake up and don't realize the power and technology that we have right now. It's literally a crime against humanity itself. It's the worst crime out of everything. You know, you are literally holding back our evolution, right? And all right, so to say that and to negate the fact that there are some, you know, people that probably shouldn't have this technology, even still, you know, I think that we could implement it, right? We could do something. Like, I'm waiting for the future where I can have a service like Uber or Lyft, but it'll teleport me anywhere. So if I wanted to, I could literally, you know, teleport to Stonehenge, right, or to the pyramid, or to India in the Ellora caves. You know, just like, yeah, I want to go here. Okay, $5, right? Excuse me. That's the technology that we have, and that's being suppressed. Imagine the world where we would have this kind of stuff, you know. Imagine if we already were using quantum computers, how much smarter people would be. That's another thing that's really messed up, you know. Imagine how much smarter we would all be if in the, you know, 2000s, or even back in like the 1940s when they started developing this technology, they freely told us about it. They said, hey, this is what we have, this is what we're doing. Bro, I wouldn't have been out there, you know, being a nuisance, you know, being a little shit, you know. I would have been studying hard because I wanted to be a part. I would want to be a part of this, you know. When I grew up, everything was just so mundane, like it just didn't matter. It was like, you know, the next iteration to the next is like so minute, and it just didn't seem like it mattered, you know. But of course, on a long enough time scale, here we are from when I was a kid, you know. Sega to now, like, you know, the PlayStation 5 or whatever. But if we had quantum computers already, if we had neural interfaces, if we had VR goggles, if we had the ability to go to an asteroid, study on other planets, right? All of these things would have greatly benefited our society for the experience, and at the same time for our wanting to excel and be beneficial to humanity as a whole, right? It seems like every single thing that's put out in front of us on the media, or, you know, music wise or on TV, it's all created and, you know, pushed in front of us with this kind of like negative energy, really. You know, you watch these reality shows or you listen to some of the music, it's all, you know, inherently bad. It's not conducive to a free loving and growing soul. It's very detrimental to the spirit body and mind and physical body at that. You know, you have all this music about doing drugs, or, you know, you have these TV shows about going to parties and clubs, or I want to be like this, I want to be like that. You know, you're worrying about how you look, you're hoping that you can fit in with this group or that group. You literally change the person you are to imitate something that's being pushed out by media that wants to keep you asleep, that wants to keep you stupid and not ask any questions. You know, they don't want you to ask the big questions. They want you to ask the little questions. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? You know, oh, what other movies is that actor doing? You know, right now, oh, Kendrick Lamar and Drake, who's going to win this battle, right? All of those things are meaningless, really. Like, in the face of this technology, in the face of this truth, the plasma entities, meaningless. Doesn't mean anything. It's literally like a business card on the ground if you're walking into the greatest cathedral you've ever seen, right? Are you really going to stop and pick up this wet, soggy business card? Or are you going to step into this beautiful geometric cathedral that was built by ancients? You know, that's literally a good analogy for what we have right now. And so yeah, that's another reason why I'm making these videos, is because I want people to understand that. I want people to try and break free from the chains that they've been born into and have fought to keep around their necks, and see that the world is so much more beautiful than what we've been told, and the capacity for a greater humanity is right in front of us, and we just have to take it. We all have to band together and realize this, you know, collectively. And the only way we're going to do that is if we're being presented with something real and factual and paradigm shifting. You know, I think I kind of realized all of this information when I was younger, and I saw the movie Thrive and Zeitgeist. You know, in the movie Thrive, it was the first movie that I was introduced into the concept of a toroidal field and how it was a perpetual energy machine, right? Then I was like, okay, well, I'm sure somebody will figure that out, you know, 200 years down the line. They've had it, right? Of course they've had it. I just had to get all that off my chest and let you guys know that I'm still here. If you enjoyed this little chat, let me know, and I will certainly do some more like this. I kind of enjoyed it. I'm not the best at going off the cuff, but it's something that I'd like to learn how to do better and be a little bit more informative when I do this. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video, guys. This is From Thought. Much love. Peace out.